Hey folks, it's Greg and Janet with Strange RV Tours, and today we're in Gladewater, Texas, which is a small East Texas town. Probably never even heard of it, but it's known as the East Texas Antique Capital, or the Antique Capital of East Texas. But this town of only a little over 6,000 people does have a unique history. First of all, in 1931 they struck oil in this town, and the town became a boom town. Everybody was moving into town. There was money here. Oil drives people crazy. And then in the early 50s, when Elvis Presley first started performing live gigs, he and his band traveled from Memphis to Shreveport to do a week's worth of gigs for some promoter there. They got crossways with the promoter, and the promoter canceled their shows. Now, Elvis and his band didn't have enough money to make it back to Memphis. But Elvis, through a contact, was able to reach a man named Tom Perryman, who was a local DJ here in Gladewater, Texas. And Tom Perryman said, if you guys can make it to Gladewater, I can get you some work here. So, first place Elvis ever performed in the state of Texas, I'm assuming, was here in Gladewater. And the first night of his first show in Texas, he performed at the Mint Club. And it was $1 charge per couple or per person to get in. And Elvis made $90 that night. Now normally, because Tom Perryman had set it up, the promoter would get half of the money. But Tom Perryman felt sorry for Elvis and his situation, so he let him keep the entire money. And Elvis kept $45 and gave $45 to his band. Now, Tom Perryman is now an iconic DJ, known as one anyway, good guy. But he was very influential in getting Elvis into nightclubs here in Gladewater. And Elvis and him became good friends. He actually stayed at Tom Perryman's house for a while, and then he moved on to an apartment here in Gladewater, and I think he stayed for a month or two. But he performed all around the Gladewater area, and then he went back home. A few years later, maybe even just a year later, Elvis had struck it rich. He had his first big hit, went out and bought his pink Cadillac, and came back to Gladewater and performed here at this location that we're at now. Today it is a baseball field, or a complex for Little League, but back when Elvis performed here, it was a minor league stadium for the Gladewater Bears, which was a minor league team for the Boston Red Sox. And it's kind of hard to see, but this walkway right here, if you walk about halfway down that walkway, that would have been where second base was. And Elvis's stage was set up at second base, and he actually drove his pink Cadillac right up to the stage and took the stage. Now, from what I understand, the crowd was not that large that day, and Elvis was not in a real good mood because of that, and so he kind of put on a lackluster performance during the first half of the show. And then they took an intermission, and Elvis's band had a talk with Elvis and told him, you can't not do your best just because there's not a lot of people here. You got to go out there and win this crowd over. So the second half of the show, from what I understand, was a romp-roaring wild ride and a fantastic show. But this is where Elvis played, right here in Gladewater, Texas. And now we're going to drive you through the town and let you see what Gladewater is all about today. It is a small Texas town with a lot of antique stores. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, apparently the Gladewater Bears, I guess Boston won the pennant, right? 1939 and 1936 and 1949, right? Something like that. But this land was donated in 1950. The stipulation was they had to keep it a ballpark. They had to keep it a ballpark. So it was in 1957 it was donated, and I guess they've done some improvements just recently. So it's still here.
Another interesting fact about Gladewater, when Johnny Cash came through town with the Louisiana Hayride, he stopped at Tom Perryman's radio station and was doing an interview, and after the interview, he sat down and while waiting for somebody else to do their interview, started writing down lyrics to a song. And before he left the studio that day, he had written I Walk the Line, one of his biggest hits ever.
That looks like it's probably a fireman training center or something. That's
Yeah,
what
it
it
does.
kind of looks like to me. So this town got started with the Texas Pacific Railroad in like 1873. And it got its post office in 1931, and it was called a city in 1931. And it has just over like 6,134 people, something like that. Like Greg said, it's the antique capital of East Texas. And there's like over 13, 14 antique stores. Neat little shops everywhere. They have festivals every year.
Gusher Days.
Yeah, Gusher Days. They have the Roundup Rodeo. That's Skipper's Pier, which is excellent crawfish. We've ate there. And good beer. The Antique Emporium. The St. Clair Antique Emporium. Very exclusive antique furniture. Beautiful stuff. And here's the shows the Gladewater Museum. And this town has been established for 150 years.
They have a lot of Elvis memorabilia in there. They have a lounge chair from Tom Perryman's house that Elvis used to rock Tom Perryman's children to bed at night on.
Yes. Pretty neat little place. Neat place to visit. Now, previously, Gladewater was lumber and cotton until they hit the oil in 1931. And of course, it boomed. People came from all over. Let's see. We got Gravel Road Studio with antiques. Yes. We got a beauty salon. We got Adelia's Designs, an antique mall. The Roundup. It's another antique area. And Yesterday's Treasures. Across the street is the Gladewater Antique Mall. That's been there for over 36 years. Neat place. Everybody has their own little booths in there. Hometown Antiques. And there's Jackson's.
I'll turn that into a beer theater.
Beer theater.
Drink beer and watch a movie.
Cool.
We're gonna pull you up in front of this really nice old home
It's
mansion.
Walker Manor. It's a bed and breakfast. Absolutely fantastic. Isn't that gorgeous? So it's for different occasions also. And I believe Walker was from Tennessee and a native of Kentucky. They had 2 young daughters. They moved here, decided to stay. I think from what I understand, it's supposed to have like 10 fireplaces, a little elevator, 15 rooms, but you can see it's out of concrete block, which a lot of the homes were built with, the timber that was available.
At one point they removed the elevator and donated it to the World War II scrap metal drive.
Wow. Well, they stayed here until 1969, and the owners promised to keep it in shape. It was built around 1901. Not fabulous? Oh my goodness.
Got a collection of old cars up here.
This is Main Street right here, but we had to show you these cars, man. Looky, looky.
That old Mack truck.
Wow, it's for sale.
42.
That's awesome. Okay. Welcomes you to the antique capital of Texas. Okay, we got all kinds of places. Decorate Ornate to the left. Those are imports, you guys. They're not from this area. Okay, we got the classic Stitch, got antique jewelry, forgotten treasures. We got the Gladewater Antique Mall. And they had some car shows over here not too long ago at Gusher Days. Cars everywhere in that area. And we have a Gladewater Books, a Christmas store, a Mexican restaurant. We got flower shops. A Happy Cabbage is a neat store. Yes, it's pretty cool. There's the Gladewater Mirror, the newspaper since 1928. Chamber of Commerce. Now, we've been to this town several times for different events, and we had a great time here. We checked out some of the antique shops. We ate at Snuffers. There's supposed to be a great burger place somewhere out here. There's a lot, right? You said Chad's. There's a big water tower. Every small town's got one. Funeral home. You'll see some of these older homes. Some of them are just fabulous.
Gladewater is only 12 square miles.
That used to be the ice house. So that building still exists. That's what I love about these small towns. They preserve their history. They're not tearing down everything.
This part of Texas is called the Piney Woods. You can see all kinds of trees, lots of pine trees.
That old fire truck. That old John Deere. How cool. Big church. You'll find lots of churches in East Texas. Right?
Yes. There's a church for every 2 people. Seymour's Coffee Shop.
Yeah. They got your Brookshire's is a local grocery chain. A lot of the small towns do have Brookshire's. Gladewater's big enough to have its own Chevy dealership. There's a Buick dealership. Cool. You know what surprises us? Chicken Express has pretty darn good chicken. Dollar Generals are popular out in small towns here. Lots of them. Family Dollars.
All right, this building right here in front of us, that was where Tom Perryman's studio was, where he would produce his radio broadcast. The radio station was actually in the, I believe, the top floor of that building. We've been up there in a different video that we did on Elvis. Today, the bottom section is owned by a motorcycle dealer, and there are apartments now. There's apartments all through that building. But that was one of the largest radio stations in East Texas, if not the largest in East Texas. And they would broadcast long distances. And it was inside that building there where Johnny Cash wrote the song, I Walk the Line. That's the Resmore.
Resmore. There's a lot of history about that.
Alright, when Elvis was performing here in Gladewater, this is where he stayed. He stayed at the Resmore apartment complex, right? I guess it was a hotel back then, but today it's an apartment complex. And this room right here, 104, that was the room that Elvis stayed in. And Scotty Moore mentioned that they had a really good time here in Gladewater, and Elvis really liked this room. And there's supposed to be a swimming pool here somewhere, but I think it's dried up now, but I believe it's right over where those stairs are, if I'm not mistaken. And it's dried up now. It's in bad shape. But when we were doing our video on Elvis here in Gladewater, we met the people that are staying in Elvis's apartment here, and they had no idea that Elvis had stayed there.
Cool. Awesome. They could do something with that sign, huh?
Yeah, send it to Las Vegas and have Rick fix it up.
Alrighty. Bear Stadium.
This is where the Gladewater Bears play football, the high school team, somewhere in this vicinity. I guess the old stadium used to be right here. And this is the high school. Right up here on the right was the venue where the Louisiana Hayride would put their shows on. And this was the building where Elvis performed with the Louisiana Hayride.
We actually had a girl contact us saying that she actually was here for the concert that Elvis performed.
Sang 2 songs that night. And if you don't know, the Louisiana Hayride was kind of a traveling country and western show that they would travel from city to city, and they would put shows on, and they had people like Johnny Cash and Jim Reeves and a lot of famous country musicians. And at that time, I guess they didn't really know what to do with Elvis because he was more of a rock and roll singer, but rock and roll was brand new, and so it's kind of classified as country at the time.
Cute little town.
You never know when you come into one of these small cities what kind of history there is behind these small towns. And you never know, who performed here, who came from here. There's a lot of musicians that came out of East Texas, including Don Henley and Johnny Mathis. Matthew McConaughey came out of East Texas.
Now there are a few notable football players. There's some wide receivers and running backs and
Lovie Smith came out of Big Sandy.
Yeah, that's only down the road a bit. Football is big in Texas, y'all. Another big church. Church of the Nazarene.
First Baptist Church here.
Yep, on the left over here. There's a church on every other corner.
I don't think I've been to a town in Texas that has fewer than 100 people that, or more than 100 people that doesn't have a Baptist church.
True. It's always the First Baptist Church. Always.
There's some towns that have 2 or 3 churches called the First Baptist Church. Which doesn't make any sense at all. You never see a Second Baptist Church.
Local cafe, home cooking, Texas traditions.
They have pretty good food.
Alright. Burgers. Said the best burgers. Yeah, right there.
Yep. All fine restaurants do. Okay, folks, so we hope you enjoyed this little tour that we gave to you guys on Gladewater, Texas. It's a nice, small, sleepy Texas town with a real problem with heat. The temperature today is probably 101, and the humidity is probably 65-70%. That's Texas during the summer.
Yep.
You go anywhere, like when we lived in Las Vegas, there was no humidity. Moved to Texas. We don't really follow the temperature gauge. We determined how hot it was that day by how many showers you took that day. Today was a 3-shower day. We've had 5-shower days.
Yeah, I tell you.
But
it depends if you're outside too much.
Well, anyhow, guys, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit the like button, the subscribe button, hit all those good buttons. Stay away from the bad ones. And until next time, get out there and go explore.
Strange RV tours will take you places with Greg and Janet's smiling faces. You might see a crazy flavored soda review or some tips to fit your RV too. So come along, won't you join us, friend, as we discover what's around the bend. Just sit right back in your easy chair. Strange RV Tours is on the air. Strange RV Tours is on